What's good, family? It's your man, the YB, back once again. Wow! Wow! I can't lie to you. I'm more gassed than I would be. Or I'm more gassed right now than I was planning on being. I gotta put my hands in the air. I had to turn the fight off after round 3. Your man, the YB, had too much coin on the line and my ass was twitching. I was so pissed at ORTIZ. I literally said in my pre-fight build-up, the one thing not to do. I mean, these guys are supposed to be trained by professionals, yeah? Even though I like to think of myself as a pundit. The one thing you don't do with Mr. Slow Feet and super duper, probably honestly, yeah, Andy Ruiz probably has the quickest hands and the quickest combination punching in the history of the game. I've never seen someone with hands so quick at heavyweight and the ability to put them shots together. So with that in mind, and also equally, Andy Ruiz has slow ass feet. So what don't you do? What's the one thing? You don't have to be Emmanuel Stewart or Custy Amato to work it out. Do not stand and try and exchange with this dude. Do not do it. Especially at your age, ORTIZ. You're older, your chin isn't as good. Why risk it? Fair enough, yeah. If you're 32 years old and you know what I mean, you're feeling yourself in the prime of your career, maybe, but even so, look at AJ. AJ was in the prime of his career, big athlete, big puncher. Look what happened to him. Got punched up trying to exchange with Ruiz. The blueprint was set. Joseph Parker set the blueprint. Come out and box. We keep hearing about this Cuban style. Where were the Cuban style at the start of the fight? Luckily, ORTIZ made the correct adjustments, but by then, it was too late. He had 2 knockdowns, or 2 or 3 knockdowns. Something like that. And I did say another thing. I said in the pre-fight build-up, the risk here, I bet about $200 on ORTIZ at 5-1. So you can see it here. I ended up losing. Match odds, ORTIZ. I put $200 on ORTIZ and lost it. Blew it. I also bet another $35 on ORTIZ on points, which was 10-1. I ended up making some on the fight going the distance. That was a pure, and again, that's why I turned it off. I had about $500 on the line. I had $500 on the line, and at that point, at the end of round 3, ORTIZ was looking out there. So in my mind, I'm $500 down. I had to turn it off, and thankfully, God was good today. God was good. Because before the fight, and that's the thing, I was kicking myself, because before the fight I said, listen, ORTIZ was getting put down by Charles Martin, who ain't got no power. So we knew ORTIZ was vulnerable. However, I thought Ruiz would be more vulnerable. Fair play to Ruiz. What Ruiz showed tonight was that Areola fight really was a mistake. Ruiz said that he cut too much weight into that fight and he was just focusing on trying to be body beautiful. And it showed, because listen, ORTIZ hit this guy with some heavy shots and he didn't go down. A lot of them shots, I mean, look at Chris Areola put Ruiz down with a lot less than ORTIZ hit him with. But anyway, back to the start of the fight. Essentially, yeah, what lost ORTIZ this fight was doing everything he shouldn't have been doing. I said, the problem with ORTIZ is going to be if he concedes too many free knockdowns. Same as the Charles Martin fight. Now, in the Charles Martin fight, he got bailed out of jail because he managed to score a knockout. But really, ORTIZ was in a 50-50 fight with Charles Martin because he just kept scoring stupid knockdowns or getting knocked down stupidly. Now, I said in the pre-fight build-up as well, okay ORTIZ, if you want to exchange with Ruiz, at least build into the fight. Yeah, get your outboxing going. Keep circling. Again, the AJ fight should be the blueprint, especially for a southpaw. We know Ruiz is going to need more time to adjust. Ruiz couldn't even adjust to AJ. Never mind adjusting to a whole southpaw, one he hasn't even fought, and at that, a top level southpaw, and at that, a hard punching southpaw. ORTIZ could have come out, circled from the jump, established his boxing, and then started to work in heavy shots. Instead, ORTIZ comes out, and the first thing he starts trying to do is establish some heavy leather. I thought, for fuck. And next thing you know, that's the thing, it's a deadly combination, because of all the people you don't want to, of all the people you might fight, yeah, who you don't want to start throwing heavy with, it's Ruiz. Why? He counter punches. And not only does he counter punch, he counter punches fast and in bunches. Yeah, we're not talking about, oh, well, he'll counter punch me and pot shot. No, we're not talking Mayweather pull counters. We're talking he will counter punch with 3 or 4. And for someone at Ortiz's age, what was the upside in that? Come into the fight, start outboxing for the first few rounds, get used to Andy Ruiz's speed, get used to his timing, get used to his counter-punching reactions. It's something, it puts you off, and that's actually what happened. Later on in the fight, Ortiz somewhat adjusted to Ruiz's speed, to his timing, to his reactions. Listen, no heavyweight, and that's how AJ got caught off guard as well. No heavyweight has experienced, he's like a cat in there. The commentator said, he's like a cobra. He is. Especially when you look at the guy, if it was a guy in the heavyweight division who you'd say is slow, who you'd say isn't like a cat, you'd pick Ruiz, but unfortunately, he has cat-like reactions. And the minute you touch him, he'll just, the first knockdown, I didn't even see the punch. Ruiz he's got crazy snap. And I'm pissed off at the fact that, who are these teams? How did Ortiz go in there, and how was the game plan not off the rip? Bear in mind as well, like I said, Ortiz is God knows how old. As an older man, why would you go in there and try and trade with a guy off the rip? Fucking, I don't get that at all. I don't understand it. I don't know whether it's to do with how Andy Ruiz looks. Did Ortiz think, well, I'm not going to let no pudgy dude, you know what I mean? It could be one of them ones. Especially with these old timers, you know what they're like? Old timers think, oh well, there's no way the pudgy dude going to beat my guy. Well, look at you now. That fight for Ortiz is winnable. The only reason, in my opinion, Ortiz lost this fight was bad tactics and age. And after, even though I would have liked to have made more money on this one, I think I ended up making about $200 in the end. I lost 200 here, I made 100 here, and I also made another 100 here, because I bet some more on the fight going distance. Because the reason I put that money on was thinking that Ruiz isn't known as a power puncher. He couldn't stop AJ in the rematch. He couldn't stop Joseph Parker. He couldn't stop Ariola. And that's my whole thing. If you come out to box Ruiz, he won't stop you. When he will stop you is if you hold your feet and you're 45 years old. And it will bamboozle you, bottom line. Ruiz is so quick for heavyweights. I genuinely don't believe any heavyweights have experienced it. It will wake you up. You think, what the fuck? It's unbelievable. Even to watch it, it's unbelievable how quick his hands are. Even though, and that's what it really showed. The fact Ortiz made it throughout the fight showed he doesn't have, or Ruiz doesn't have that nasty power. But I do have to salute, even though I'm more frustrated. I'm proud of Ortiz, but I'm more frustrated at the fact that I feel that he could have won the fight. If you get what I'm saying, I feel like the fight was his to win. Now, I also have to salute Ortiz though, because number one, often you hear me complain, oh, these guys come to fanny around. Listen, I give respect to Ortiz because he didn't come to fanny around. He was the opposite. He came to throw lever and then adjusted. Now, like I said, another thing, he did make adjustments. That's what really the fight should have been over in round 5. It was Ortiz making the adjustments. But my whole thing is, what's the point? Essentially throwing the fight away. By the time you've been down twice, in the first 3 rounds, the fight's over, innit? Realistically speaking, the fight's over. So you threw the fight away only to have to adjust anyway. If you'd have come out doing that, later on in the fight, you could have then potentially took more risk and then tried to land your own heavy shots. Instead, really, what did Ortiz gain from it? Nothing. He lost his fight based on tactics, in my opinion. That said, I have to salute Ortiz because, guess what? For a 45-year-old man at least, really, he might be 50. He might be 50. So for a 50-year-old man, amazing. He's not juiced. So for an unjuiced, natural 50-year-old man, and he's going in there and putting in a great performance against a prime, one of the quickest guys in history, and also Ruiz has one of the best chins in history as well. Some of the shots, in them first rounds, some of them shots that Ruiz took were huge, and he ate them. So for Ortiz to survive in there with that guy and perform the way he did, unbelievable for a 50-year-old man. Do you know what I mean? Even if you say it's 43, I don't believe it's 43, but even if it's 43, it's still amazing. It's amazing. He really lost the fight. If anything, when you take out the silly mistakes, it was a 50-50 fight at best. If not really, Ortiz was winning. Now that said, Ruiz was the winner, but Ruiz's limitation, that's the thing that frustrated me. Ruiz is straight up and down. There's nothing, You really, if you put Ruiz in a box like you're supposed to do, bear in mind, people, this fight has millions of dollars on the line, in as much as the winner of this fight goes on to fight Wilder, to fight for a belt, etc, etc. I'm shocked at Ortiz's team lack of game planning. Ortiz's team should have been screaming at him, not after he's been down 3 times in the first half of the fight. At the start of the fight, it should have been outbox. And it pissed me off at the fact that initially I wasn't sure. Initially I thought, well, maybe Ortiz is too old to make the adjustments. I swear down. When I started seeing Ortiz go down a few times, I thought, oh no, I've misjudged this. Ortiz is too old, he's shot to bits, and his legs have gone. He can't make the adjustments. He's too old. He can't go backwards. He can't outbox. His legs are shot. And even the commentators were saying, oh, Ortiz's coordination's off, his legs are shot. He can't outbox. So I thought maybe it's on me, but then to see Ortiz come out in round 4 or whatever it was, and then all of a sudden start circling, being more cautious, trying to outbox, all of a sudden he goes to 12. It's like, for fuck's sake, what was that about? I don't get that. Do you get that? Do you get what he was thinking in them early rounds? I don't get it whatsoever. I just don't. What did he think he was going to do? Come out and just stun Ruiz with something heavy? At that age, knowing how vulnerable he was in that that Charlie Martin fight, he was the definition of vulnerable. Bottom line. To have Charlie Martin don't have no power. So to have Charlie Martin tag you, I mean, Ortiz was getting tagged here with jabs and whatnot, and he was on Queer Street. Now, another thing I do have to credit Ortiz with, the times he went down, extremely composed. Yeah, Ortiz sat there, he waited to the count of 8, and stood up. That is really probably what made the difference there. But man, yeah, listen, Ruiz, anyone who has a level at certain, that's the thing I don't get. Oh, people talk about this Cuban IQ. I'm sorry. Yes, we saw it later on in the fight, but in that first quarter of the fight, there was no IQ there. He was reckless. And for a man that age, yes, I salute his heart and courage, but it was reckless heart and courage. You've now potentially blown $5-10 million trying to be brave at the start of a fight. It's like, what? But anyway, from Ruiz's point of view, Ruiz really did what he had to do. Yeah, Ruiz was a 5-1 favourite. Now, was that fight a 5-1 favourite performance? Not really. Like, if you look at the stats, i.e., oh, Ortiz went down 3 times, it may appear that way. But in terms of quality, taking the knockdowns out, I mean, Ruiz is who he is. And that's why it's so frustrating, because anyone who knows, any training team, anyone who knows who they're performing against, anyone who knows, okay, it's Andy Ruiz, super quick hands, super quick counter punching, combination punching, slow feet, anyone who gets that and builds the game plan around that, i.e. AJ and Joseph Parker, he's easy to box up. Now, someone like Wilder will be interesting, because Wilder, he don't really have no boxing like that. Wilder's going to be looking to get his big right hand off. And we actually saw in the Wilder fight how that got him to trouble against Ortiz. The fact Wilder kept trying to load up for that right hand, Ortiz was able to get involved or to basically win most of the fight. But yeah, that isn't, I mean, it's intriguing. To say, for me, this Ruiz versus Ortiz fight was super intriguing. And obviously, Ruiz versus Wilder is super intriguing too. So, they say styles make fights. This whole series, which has started with Ortiz versus Ruiz, it's full of styles making fights and interesting combinations. Now, where's Ortiz going to go from here? I don't know. Really? In my opinion, he'll be kicking himself after this one. He really will be. He'll be kicking himself that he blew the fight at the start of it. That said, talking historically speaking here, I mean, then again, look at George Foreman. I was about to say Ortiz has performed probably the best of the old people, but again, we don't know how old Ortiz is. I mean, if it comes out, yeah, Ortiz is 52, for example. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe he's 43. If Ortiz is 43, obviously, it's not as impressive, but if Ortiz is 50, arguably, that was one of the best performances in history, if not the best performance in history, of a 50-year-old man. And really, it just goes to show for me how great George Foreman really was. Because George Foreman at 49, he was sturdy, wasn't he? Proper thick and strong. Ortiz, not so much. Assuming, I mean, listen, if it turns out Ortiz is like 55, which he could be, if Ortiz is 55, then he's an alien almost, because also his conditioning. There's fight. Look at AJ. AJ can be in a fight, not even be put down. Do you know how tiring it is to be a 250-pound man and be put down and have to get up and be hit in the head and be hit in the body? Ortiz, at 50 years old, yeah, after being put down, after being pressured by a genuine dangerous puncher, was able to survive and perform well and win rounds against Ortiz. In fact, Ortiz versus Ruiz was a closer fight than AJ and Usyk. And Ortiz didn't run out of gas, did he? Ortiz wasn't puffing. And it shows you there's something AJ isn't doing in training. Yeah? Because Ortiz was throwing heavy, that's the thing as well. Ortiz was throwing heavy ass leather from the rip, to his detriment. AJ didn't throw any heavy leather till about round 8 or round 9. Ortiz was throwing stingers from the rip. So yeah, I do really have to salute Ortiz. Yes, we laugh because he's old, but really, thinking about it, realistically speaking, imagine being that old and getting in there with young bucks. It really is salutable. Yeah? In this day and age, the young bucks, the prime bucks, can't even turn up and put a session in. Look at AJ, prime of his life, and he can't turn up for shit. So yeah, man, I salute Ortiz, even though he lost. I'm saluting him because, listen, he could have pulled an AJ. Let's not forget, people, what did AJ do when he was losing against Ruiz? What did AJ do when he had a few knockdowns against Ruiz? He rolled over and jacked. Yeah, and it's because of Ortiz digging deep and refusing to lose despite being 50 years old. That's why your man, the YB, managed to make $200 tonight rather than losing probably God knows how much, 500-600 quid. So yeah, so I really am happy. I really am proud of Ortiz, because what he showed tonight was a statement. That's how it's supposed to be. That's how you're supposed to go out. He lost with pride tonight. Yeah, and I'm disappointed for him. In my opinion, given all the circumstances, he deserved to win tonight. Really, bad tactics on his part. He needs to take responsibility. I don't know what his team are doing. And clearly, they made the adjustments. That's what makes it so frustrating for me. Why couldn't he have started like he did in round 4 at the start of the fight? Them kind of things piss me off. And I literally said at the start of the fight, I said before the fight, Ortiz, historically speaking, he's not a runner. Ortiz has never been a runner. He will get in there and try and land big shots. I knew that going in. But I thought in my head, surely these guys aren't going to do the standard. The standard tactic for Ortiz is to kind of work his way forward and land something heavy and counter punch a bit. But I thought a top level team, and for this kind of big massive fight, I thought they were going to tailor their game plan a bit more than just box. It feels to me like until the round 3 was finished here, that Ortiz's game plan was go in there and do your thing. Not listen. He should have been given strict orders. Do not hold your feet with this guy. Yeah? The minute you touch him, step out. The minute you touch him, roll off. Do not commit and then be squared up. And then what do we know? The minute Ortiz committed, yeah, and didn't move his feet and didn't move his head, he got clipped. It was instant. And that's the kind of fighter Ruiz is. You can't do it. Especially when you haven't got a read on his speed, on his accuracy, and his power. Once you've got a read on that, and that's why look at the fight. The first 3 rounds, he gets knocked down 2 times, and the next 9, he only gets knocked down once. Also, in terms of the speed differential, we know people are going to be super quick at the start of a fight. Yeah? So don't load up. You know what I mean? Don't get caught slipping at the start. Warm in, get your feel about you, and then later on, if you feel you want to put some heavy leather down, so be it. At least then you've got the advantage, or at least then you know what you're dealing with. Ortiz didn't have a clue what he was dealing with, and he got stung unnecessarily. And I want it for him. I feel like for a man to be his age and doing what he's doing, he really deserved that. But he's got no really. I've praised him, but he ain't got no one to blame but himself. I'm sure there's people out there. Oh, YB, talk about Ruiz. Ruiz for me, Ruiz is Ruiz, isn't it? Ruiz does what Ruiz does. I'm not sure I didn't see nothing special, and to be quite frank, bearing in mind, look, seeing how vulnerable Ortiz was, really, I mean, it's good for me, but really, Ruiz should have got the stoppage tonight. I can't lie to you. Seeing how vulnerable Ortiz was, pretty much any shot that landed, he's going down. And the fact Ruiz couldn't finish his dinner, it's a bit of a, you know, it's a bit like that for me. Yeah, I'm not too impressed with Ruiz's performance, especially when he won the fight barely, but you know what I mean. Especially given that Mexican style. Yeah, Ortiz should have been a snack tonight. But listen, it is what it is. Salute to both men, and your boy will be back, no doubt about it, 100%.